Hello everyone, this is CyberEric with another gameplay overview video. This is for the latest Metroid game, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And again, this is one of the videos where I'll go over the gameplay segments, aspects of the gameplay, etc. for the game. And before we start, I would like to thank everybody to please like and subscribe. It is appreciated and it helps the channel out. So of course, Metroid starts the very famous Samus as the main character here in her excellent suit. And of course, I'm going to start real quick with kind of showing some of the gameplay CGI aspects of the game. There's a story, etc. Again, we're here for the gameplay. This is why we call it a gameplay video and not an actual just gameplay game overall overview. But just wanted to show kind of the story. Here's the enemy with some Metroids in the background, right? And just basically going to be fighting the space pirates. And you're going to be fighting this different enemy variety, etc. And I'll show some of the combat, some of the bosses later on, and some of the gameplay aspects. Obviously, Metroid, you're going to also have this humanoid teammates that'll help you out. For the most part, as it says there, they're going to stay out of the way, so don't worry about it. You kind of just, it's that they're like folder or excuses for different aspects of the game. But let's talk about the gameplay aspects, basic movement, and some of the gameplay mechanics that a Metroid Prime game includes. So of course it is a first-person shooter, or there's a first-person exploration game. You're going to be moving around. You can lock onto enemies as you see in the background. You start off with basic things like your rocket here for Samus, a basic blaster that you can charge. You're basically running around, locking onto enemies, shooting at them. They drop little pickups, the health pickups or ammo, and you can basically grab those and move forward along. And here's some nice exploration of the map. This is the opening level, by the way. You can also have your very famous morph ball, where Samus can basically turn into a ball and move around. And again, I'm trying to explain this in a way where you haven't played other Metroid games before, or the Metroid Prime games. Here's the scan. Metroid Primes are known for their scan feature, where basically you can toggle this option and you can basically scan things around the map. And by the way, you'll be doing this a lot. It is a core component of the game. So you'll be basically going into a room, see these things in green or different colors, scan them. It'll give you different information based on the game, the map, what is this item, etc. And you get a lot of the lore and information. But you want to scan things. For example, here, this thing will say an explosive shock will destroy it. So now you know that you can destroy that. So scanning gives you information as to what you can unlock. And you can basically scan things like the psychic sensor. And you can move things around. And I'll explain the powers in a second. So the thing is, obviously, as a Metroid game, you're going to have upgrades and psychic abilities. Psychic abilities are the new Metroid gimmick for new powers. In this case, psychic things. These creatures basically will give you psychic powers here. And I'm showing here some of the background. Basically, this is the beginning of the game where it shows you getting those powers. And you'll be unlocking those things, and that's part of the Metroidvania, right? Or whatever you want to call it, aspects. So for example, here you can use psychic abilities to form a bridge. And you can also use your psychic abilities to, for example, move objects up and down. You can form psychic platforms, if you will. And you're gonna need obviously an item to be able to stand on those, and I'll show that in a second. But you can move things around, unlock using different puzzles, alright, different like little drawing mechanics. Very simple stuff to the most part, but that's why you are scanning and you're using those features. You're also gonna get things like here, this power up, this energy upgrade, and you're gonna get other upgrades. For example, here I'm showing the psychic boots. So the psychic boots basically will allow you to stand on those platforms that I showed. And then at the beginning you'll see them, you won't be able to stand on them. And by scanning, it'll basically tell you need this upgrade. So Metroidvania, you're gonna have to go back and forth, but make note of that as you explore the map. Here's another one of the upgrades on the game. This is for example, the morph ball bomb, or it's called now, I think, the psychic bomb, even though it's the same thing, right? The morph ball bomb, and you can turn into a ball and place it, and you can jump with it. And like I'm placing it here, right? And this is classic Metroid, where you're running around with a ball, and there's little segments to the platforming here that do it. Oh, but by the way, for this Metroid Prime game, you can actually jump normally in ball mode. You do not need to place the little bomb on the ground to jump anymore. There's an actual jump button. You can also leave the button pressed and summon the little bomb, so you can actually grab it and use it for different puzzles. And you'll be using this throughout the game in certain puzzles here and there, so just be aware of that. Yeah, but that's the morph bomb. Other upgrades that we'll see, for example, I'm not showing some of the beginning ones, I won't show everything, but for example, here is the control beam. Control beam is one of those other psychic abilities that when you're in scan mode, you can scan your shot, and you're gonna be using this like slow down time to basically use this shot to hit multiple things at the same time or within the same time frame, right, kind of thing. And again, it's a mechanic. You can move around while you're locking on. You can lock on while you're doing that, and it'll be used to, for example, unlock things. It'll be used for combat in some aspects, etc., etc. Other upgrades you'll see, for example, and I like to show some of these off, is like this grapple hook. And basically, this grapple hook, you'll be able to basically unlock doors or other things that'll allow you to pull things to unlock them. There you go. Other things that you will unlock, for example, is also weapons. Different upgrade abilities. Not everything is psychic abilities. You will also have different weapons. So, for example, I have this locked door that requires a heat signature. So, for example, later in the game, you will get the heat, the fire shot, or the heat shot, let's call it. And you'll be able to basically obviously unlock those doors there. Here I am showing some of the combat so you guys can kind of see. But basically use the fire shot here. And it unlocks the door. And you'll see this different thing. There's an ice shot, there's other electric shots, etc., etc. And you'll be exploring those things like that. There will be walls, for example, that are susceptible to the fire shot. And you can basically use those to unlock different upgrades, like a shot expansion here. You can also upgrade these, by the way. These different combat mechanics. For example, here's the charged fire shot. It's an upgrade you get early on also in the game. You have to explore to get these. These are not all obviously linear. And you can also use this for combat. For example, there I'm shooting the enemy. And if I hit him with a fire shot, he will actually rapid fire. Right? So that's basically some of the upgrades and things that you will see. New to Metroid Prime 4, though, is Biola. The new bicycle mechanic vehicle that allows you to basically run around the map. And I kind of want to show it off here real quick, just to kind of just see. You'll get this rather early, basically in the second or whatever you want to call it, third area of the game, relatively early. An hour or two into that, a couple hours into the game. And basically this is the background of the intro sequences of you riding the bicycle. And the game's going to give you a full tutorial for how to use it. There are some mechanics later in the game that basically force you to kind of use this, but you can shoot, for example, you can scan things while you're on the bike, so you don't have to get off. You can slide and use like a slide attack, and you can shoot with it as well. So I'll show it here in a second here, where, for example, I'm just running around here, and rather than get off and getting off the bike, I'm just shooting the enemies from the bike, and it's a pretty satisfactory. But again, basic stuff. The bicycle is nice. It's not groundbreaking or anything, but you can get on and off, for example, there by pressing the start button or the plus in your Switch controller. And you can basically get off, activate different things, explore the map as you see fit. One thing I will note is that there's a big desert area in the game that connects basically the different hub worlds. Here I am showing the map. Here I, for example, exiting the Bolt Forge. I'll show that a little bit later. But basically this map is a little bit empty, to be perfectly honest. It's really empty. It's not really that much. There's not much to do here, at least until the end game, where there's a couple more things. There's a couple of secrets here and here, but it feels pretty bare. So just know that. The locations. So some of the quick locations I wanted to show. It's a Metroid Prime game. It's a Metroid game, I guess. So I want to show some things here. Like, for example, here's the green area, if you will, the forest. And I kind of wanted to show some of the environments so you guys get an idea of the different environments that you will see as you play the game. And again, very awesome graphics in this Metroid Prime game. I think is one of my favorite things about this game is watching the Metroid game and watching them basically with these beautiful graphics. I'm moving around here. For example, you can see the water rolling down. You can basically turn into a morph ball here and run around, and you can see the different roots, different trees, etc., etc. The graphics here are actually, I think, excellent. I think Retro Studios did an excellent job. And again, the different environments you're going to be exploring, they're a lot of fun. Yeah, another thing, for example, here I'm showing some of the green area here. There's always going to be walls that you can destroy, for example, here. And I kind of want to show as you walk around, explore these different environments, you're going to find different things like this upgrade for the missiles, etc., etc. So explore, find things out, and use your abilities. As for example, like the Bolt Force, it's like an electric area you're gonna find early in the game as well. This is kind of where you unlock the Viola motorcycle. And there's going to be other areas, like for example, there's going to be a fire area, there's going to be an ice area, there's going to be the open desert that I just showed a few minutes ago. And this is kind of the environments that you're going to see for this Metroid Prime game. I just kind of wanted to show to give you an idea that you're going to be exploring all these different areas. One of the last but not least things I wanted to show was the boss fights. So obviously it's not a Metroid game without boss fights or a Metroidvania, and you're going to have plenty of variety here. And the boss fights here are actually a lot very cool. They use your abilities. Combat's okay here. Again, this is more an exploration game. This is not a first-person shooter. This is not a Call of Duty. But you're gonna have the combat mechanics where you're gonna be running around. Enemies will throw things at you. In this case, the spikes. I'll be shooting missiles. There's gonna be different bosses, and I'm showing some of the bosses early on in the game, so I'm not going into anything heavy or major. But basically, here I am, basically avoiding attacks, attacking these enemies. And you're going to be fighting all these bosses. This is the coolest part of the game. Otherwise, the combat is a little bit simple in the game, in a way. But the boss fights are basically why you are here. Alright, these boss fights are actually a lot of fun. You get to scan the enemies, you get to use different abilities here, like the Morph Ball, to fight some of these combat mechanics. And they're overall just a lot of fun. This is why you're here, for the boss fights mostly, and for the exploration. So, overall impressions for Metroid Prime 4. Beyond. So again, this is a game, I am a Metroid fan, full bias, where I'm a huge fan. Metroid Prime is really one of my favorite games of all time. And I don't know why Nintendo hasn't released Metroid Prime 2 and 3 on the Switch, but that's another issue for another day. So yeah, you're gonna be running around, you're gonna be fighting some enemies here, right? Things like that. Nothing too complicated when you're fighting enemies. Enemies do respawn after you leave an area and come back, so just prepare for that. But you always have unlimited ammo you replenish when you hit a save point, etc, etc. So nothing to do, but as you're exploring, for example here, you'll see things like this ice wall. Use your fire shot to break the ice. And you can keep exploring, etc, etc. You'll find different enemies, like for example, these little critters here, etc, etc. But that's why you're here playing a Metroid game. Metroid games are for exploration, for running around. You're not really here for the combat. There are difficulty settings in the game. There are different options. You can play like the mobile mode, right, where you can move around the Joy-Cons, but I probably would recommend just playing as a regular controller. But yeah, that's Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Again, you're here for the exploration, for the boss battles. I am really enjoying this game a lot, just because it's actually a little bit more linear than other Metroid games, so just be aware of that. And you can actually aim, for example, different weak points and bosses, etc, etc. But for the most part, it's nothing new, but it's also on a Metroid Prime game. So with that, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And that is the Metroid Prime gameplay overview for this video. And that is all for today. And have a good one, everyone.